Music edition. What is that?
Your Highness has arrived. Hey, what's up?
I got a new starting soon for you guys.
First time.
Oh, it's another Thursday. Check your video quality settings. Make sure they're on full HD, 1080. Even if you have every YouTube video set to that, it might not be. I'm telling you.
Holy fucking shit, the smoking timeline is lit all over. It's over, world's biggest Alex Joner. Holy fucking cow, the smoking timeline is all over. It's over, world's biggest Alex Joner.
All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
I choose to take responsibility for my shitty behavior rather than blaming rocks and stars.
You got any resume gaps? Got chased by a pit bull.
Holy fucking shit, the smoking timeline is lit all over. It's over, world's biggest Alex Joner. Holy fucking cow, the smoking timeline is all over. It's over, world's biggest Alex Joner.
All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
Solid retirement.
Holy fucking shit, the smoking timeline is lit all over. It's over, world's biggest Alex Joner. Holy fucking cow, the smoking timeline is all over. It's over, world's biggest Alex Joner.
All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
Man, I wish I had a cigarette.
You had like 5 already.
I know. Man, I wish I had a cigarette. I guess I'll snuff it. Anybody want some snuff? Any dry snuff fans in the house?
Still no for me.
World's biggest Alex Joner. Holy fucking cow, the smoking timeline is all over. It's over, world's biggest Alex Joner.
All of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
Holy fucking shit, the smoking timeline.
Welcome YouTube, welcome Rumble, welcome Pilled, welcome X. Up to 10 emojis. You like that one?
I did.
Up to 10 emojis will fly across the screen, including right now if you use them. So get your emojis out of your system, world champions and hard M's. I see both right now. How about that? How about
All
that?
of my sexual fantasies involve handcuffs.
What are Michael Avenatti's up to these days?
There was something recently. I mean, he was a part of the defamation case, wasn't he? He testified.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think you might be right.
Who even talks about the defamation case anymore? That was since ages ago.
Like, they were talking about Avenatti running for president. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, Cuomo.
And now he's just pretending like none of that happened. What did happen is that being fat is fit-phobic. That definitely happens every day. Do better, people. Too much fit phobia going around. Another Thursday, probably the final cider house we're going to do out of this studio, I think. We may have one next week. We may not. We're not sure yet. All you young bucks are trying to figure out your college schedules and work schedules and things like that. So this might be it. This might be the final fun, low stakes, have a good time cider house episode. Today we will be talking hour one, the great replacement theory. origins, history, evidence, counterpoints, replacement theology. There goes our monetization, by the way. You can't say the great replacement theory on YouTube if you didn't know, guys. Hour 2, what is America? Phenomenal America versus noumenal America, if these young guys will let me talk like that. But Mihaly Sogor in the house with his cores up front and center, out of focus. A very cinematic shot.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Mihaly.
Soft focus.
Have you developed a catchphrase yet? Make agriculture.
Making agriculture great again. I'm famous in Denmark.
With Carla Sands and
Yeah.
Dave McCormick.
Carlos Sands and Dave McCormick. Also with us, Jefferson County Vice Chairman
Howdy.
Danny Kunselman. Welcome back. And somewhere, Jack, what were you doing? Were you tubing it right there? Were you Jeffrey tubing it right then?
No, not at all.
Jack's going to be in Indiana for, another couple weeks at least, so he is joining us remotely. Cider House crew, we're all here. Final, maybe, episode from this ghetto-ass thing we've cobbled together.
What are you going to do with this room when you don't have a studio in here?
I don't know. I had thoughts, but then Pornhub's getting outlawed everywhere, so I got to rethink my life choices. I was going to Kanye it, if you will. Wasn't he trying to start a porn site or some shit? Nobody?
I don't know. He does a lot of things.
I don't know.
I don't follow that side.
All I know is I was a little lost in life, and I thought I need a compass, and that compass is Kanye West.
Yeah.
I say WWKD, baby.
I'm not going to say.
Wait,
I'm not going to say it.
Oh, you're not going to say
I'm
it.
not going to say it.
What's going on, chat?
But you know what I'm talking about.
What's going on, chat? Holy shit, Linda Love the Mod has hit 6 months, by the way, with the white badge. Linda, awesome. Glad to have you back. Perpetual Platypussy on YouTube, welcome. Rock Out Blackout, welcome. I don't think I've seen you before. Bandit848, welcome back. John Ward, all the dry snuff
That's
at the
probably
grocery
true.
store is 19 to 20 years old. Well, yeah, it's aged.
I don't know. I doubt that many people buy that around here.
I know. Well, I had to get mine from fucking Scotland, so it's not hard. It's not easy to find.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Stan Mack, Insidious Anti-Mason, welcome. Nurgle, Groyper's World War II, maybe. We're going to talk about it. Welcome back, Nurgle. Pill Scott, Vermont, maybe. VT, Virginia Tech, Michael Vick, I don't know. You like cheese or you like killing dogs? One or the other. Welcome, Phil Scott, VT. Markets and Moto is back. Stephen Marsh, Mr. Smith 118 is back. Kronick is back. Kronick, you lost your membership, man. You got to get that back. Z Kyle, fuck YouTube. I'm with you, Z Kyle. How's our different platform numbers looking? Oh, that broke, didn't it? No, it didn't. Mostly YouTube, a little bit of Rumble. Say hello if you're on Pilled or X.
You know what's embarrassing?
A lot of things.
Every Sunday I comment hi, and you never notice it. You never notice me.
Every Sunday you comment hi, or you
Yeah.
come hi. You're hi. You're H-I-G-H, or you're...
I comment hello or hi, howdy, on your Third Continental Congress show.
Plot twist. I always notice.
You just refuse to
It's
give
a
me
conscious decision.
that pat on the back. I can't.
I try to keep up with the chat as much as I can. You guys have actually been helpful to have on the show because I'm a little better when we got a couple sets of eyes. But anyway, the great replacement theory, origins, history, evidence, counterpoints, replacement theology. Jack Kentner, what is the great replacement theory?
Well, depending on who you ask, it's either the best thing ever or it's a out of this world, like anti-Semitic racist conspiracy theory. But in order to understand the great replacement debate, it boils down to two questions. Is there an ongoing demographic change or replacement going on in Western countries? And two, is this a result of intentional migration policies set forth by politicians or status quo elites? You can name it however you want, but the answer to these questions are both true. If a migration policy is clearly changing the demographics of your country and your politicians are doing nothing to stop this, then the only conclusion you can make is that yes, demographic replacement is a deliberate policy. And you can't even call it a conspiracy theory because it's an open policy. However, and this is something that's celebrated by Democrats and leftists in a clip that I shared with you, John, if you want to play it.
Yes, all right. So I have that here. This one, Democrats and leftists celebrate the great replacement?
Yeah.
All righty. Hang tight 1 second.
It seems harder and harder to ignore that the echoes of replacement theory and other racially motivated views are increasingly coming out into the open.
In a few years, we're going to be a majority brown country. White people will not be the majority in the country anymore.
This will be the first generation ever in American history in which whites will be a minority of the generation at some point.
As of 2007, every year, babies being born in this country, whites now are the minority.
In 2044, everyone is going to be a minority.
As the demographics change, as white people become the minority in the country, which is coming.
Demographics is destiny.
Demographics is destiny.
Demographics is destiny, right? The country is changing.
I've been saying it here. Other people have been saying it here for years now, even before Donald Trump. The demographics is destiny.
The white population is declining for the first time in history in America, while the number of multiracial Americans have more than doubled.
So we live in a country where the demographics are changing. It's becoming less white.
Correct.
Okay.
You'll be announcing that we're calling the 38 electoral votes of Texas for the Democratic nominee for president. It's changing. It's going to become a purple state and then a blue state because of the demographics, because of the population growth.
The growth in Texas has been almost entirely driven by non-white population growth, mostly by Hispanic and Latino population growth.
The idea that whites will not be the majority, I mean, it's an exciting transformation of the country. It's an exciting evolution and progress of our country in many different ways.
The white population is declining. It was always on the upswing. So that speaks to the beautiful diversity of America. It speaks to how that population the demographics will weigh in politically.
I believe anybody who echoes a replacement is to blame, not for this particular crime, but it's for no purpose except profit and or political benefit. And it's wrong. It's just simply wrong.
That's our buddy Grabian. We've used one of those clips before, so I should probably figure out who that is. Celebrating the fact that whites will become a minority. The great replacement. So your first question, Jack, I think was, is it happening? Like, maybe it's not really happening. Is that the counter argument?
Well, as you've seen through these clips, it clearly is happening. There is an increase, the white population is, in fact, going down, and that directly has to do with a decrease in native birth rates. And there's actually a UN study called replacement migration, and that's usually what they call this phenomenon. Replacement migration, and it also produced studies clearly showing supplemental migration directly drives down native birth rates. So in 2000, a United Nations paper was released called Replacement Migration. You can Google it here.
Yeah, we got it up right now.
Yeah, and it's not a mystery or even conspiracy theory. It's just simple birth rate math.
Yeah, this is 177 pages, so they know the answer. Oh, maybe that's because they translated it into 4 trillion languages.
I'm trying to read it. Hold on. Yeah, we're fucked.
How many turkeys we having for Thanksgiving?
We're screwed.
Is that racist? Yes. Go on, Jack.
Right, but yeah. So in an effort to increase birth rates, instead of looking to incentivize the native population into having more kids or trying to find ways of helping them, their solution is to just let in a bunch of migrants, just mass migration, and that has significant effects onto the culture in the future, because it gradually replaces just the people already here. And if that happens, then we may or may not have our current culture, which is a really scary thing. And it's pretty much why immigration is such a contentious issue in the United States right now, and as well as Europe and a lot of other Western countries. Yeah, this is an article explaining the study or paper I you just had up, John.
Okay. So United Nations meetings, coverage of press releases, new report on replacement migration issued by UN Population Division from March 17, 2000. If you want to read it, here are the numbers. We're not going to go through this in detail. I don't think anybody watching this show is really in disagreement. We're all attacked anytime we even dare to suggest anything like this might be true as racist, bigoted, anti-Semitic, whatever.
I could argue, I think, with you guys on this one, though.
Go ahead, by all means.
And I might make your entire chat hate me right now. And I'm not saying
I'm a big fan of that.
way we are going about things by letting anyone in across an open border is the right way to go about things. Having said that, I think we do need an abundance of immigration in this country, and we need it desperately right now. You look at the alternatives, we could be like Japan or South Korea, where in 50 years our population is going to be 1/3 of what it is today.
So you, Mihaly, are concerned about our being below replacement rate with birth rates and stuff.
I'm concerned that we have gone now for the first time in the history of our country to average child per household being now 1.9 under the 2.1 threshold.
That is true. I have that link.
To sustain the country.
Well, Mihaly, I agree with you that we do need a certain amount of immigration, but that differs from mass immigration because that's uncontrolled. Whereas
it also sounds. Let me. Oh, sorry, Jack. I know you're on a delay. No, you're on a delay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
No, I think we need mass immigration. I think the problem we have now is mass migration.
Well, Mihaly, wouldn't it be fair to say back to you? It sounds like you're really just saying we don't have enough people.
Yeah, we don't.
Well, why do they got to be immigrants? Like, why can't it be babies?
Because you can't create enough babies to fix the problem in one generation. And if you do, then our entire population pyramid's fucked. And then the generations after that are going to be paying a lot of welfare like we are to the boomers.
Just another round of boomers?
Yeah, it needs to be sustained, not this.
So would you say, Mihaly, that population decrease is a bad thing?
Population decrease is a bad thing, yeah.
Why would you say that?
Because it's trending in a direction where 50 years from now you have less people in the workforce than you have created your workforce for.
Well, so it's bad for the people that are part of that large population group generationally. I get that. But in the long term of...
It's bad for society because then you don't have enough people to fill in the roles that have upheld society.
Yeah, but would you say there's a lot of people in society right now that don't contribute? They're sort of useless?
Oh, yeah, and that's a whole other argument.
So why... What if you just got rid of all of them rather than adding immigrants?
Well, the problem with that is this is still America, and you can't just put a gun to someone's head and make them work if they don't want to.
No, I agree. But I'm saying I think you can make the numbers meet in the middle without just adding immigrants.
As much as we'd like it, the trains will probably never run on time in America.
Like in Japan?
Yeah.
I don't really think I need my train to be that punctual, to tell you the truth.
We don't even use trains here. Everywhere else uses trains.
I'm just kind of guessing that my chat's going to be saying some of that, and you were very polite to preempt it like that and expect it, and I appreciate that's world champion behavior. And I'd like to think the chat will do you the same favor. Most of them probably won't, but some of them might.
I think, does the chat know Mihaly's background, though?
Yeah, well, if you don't know, chat, yeah, so Mihaly, do you want to give the quick background? And I mean, I was about to say, I'm all for immigration from white Europeans. Like
see, but I don't think race has anything to do with it.
Well, so yeah, what we would call two different white Europeans would not call each other, and like a Hungarian and an Englishman would be like, we're not anything alike.
Yeah, I mean, everyone in
But
Europe
Americans
is white,
would be
but
like, they're white Europeans.
Spent the past 2,000 years killing each other because they're different types of white.
Sure, yeah, 100%.
It's definitely not a racial thing. It's definitely a cultural thing. But again, when it comes to mass migration or mass immigration, I think I disagree with you on this, Mihaly, because if you can, there's a difference between the difference between illegal immigration and mass immigration is one is simply on the books. We can lower our standards to allow pretty much anyone to come in, so that it's no more or less different than illegal immigration.
No, I don't think
that's why I think we need to have.
I guess we didn't
standards.
fix that.
I don't know how your computer's picking that up with headphones on, but that's just going to have to happen. Go ahead, Mihaly. Sorry.
I don't disagree. I don't think that we should be letting everyone and anyone in. That was what I prefaced the whole thing with.
Yeah.
I think we need more of the Coney Island approach. Not Coney Island. What was the island outside? Ellis Island. Coney Island, the amusement park.
Fucking hot dog eating contest with these motherfuckers? Is that what you want?
I had Joey Chestnut on my mind.
I want to take you're poor and you're tired and you're sick, and I want to take them to a Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Whoever can win the hot dog eating contest deserves to be an American.
And then they get a Ferris wheel ride.
Yeah, and a roller coaster.
I don't know if there's a roller coaster on Coney Island.
We'll ship them to Hershey Park.
Yeah, there you go.
And if they can make it through the storm chaser,
open up the floodgates, Mihaly Biden.
No,
Why not?
I think if we bring them in and give them a basic screening, basic IQ test, basic health screening, if they pass all that, we need them. Get them in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with
And I mean,
you on
criminal
that
background
front.
is obviously a big thing. That's the biggest problem I think we
Of
face today,
course.
because a lot of these Central East, Latin countries, they are just deporting all their immigrants, which
they're
are
just
criminals,
dumping their criminals on us, yeah.
It's like El Salvador.
Well, so would you get rid of those people?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I mean, that's not a question.
Yeah, of course.
I would
So,
I would say if you have even the most minor offenses, it should be so strict that if you have 2 speeding tickets, you're not allowed in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree with you, Mihaly, that there's certainly a need for immigration, but it is a system that requires a lot of massive reforms. And another thing to keep in mind that you said before, we need immigration because if we don't have a high birth rate, we're just going to be stuck with a bunch of old people that can't work the jobs that they can't that can't enter into the labor force. Well, another thing to keep in mind though is that migrants and immigrants also grow old. So, and there's no guarantee that they will produce enough kids in the future to meet that to meet the numbers needed to work those jobs.
I'm not sure what your chat doesn't understand about what I'm saying. They keep saying that we don't need more people.
I don't know why you thought you were going to win this one.
No, I don't understand how they don't understand why we need more people. If you look at how many boomers there are now, we have to play a disproportionate amount of Social Security towards them because
hold
we
on,
have
Chad.
way less
so,
people.
So Chad is in disagreement that we even need more people.
they
See,
don't-
I would agree with that. It seems like we kind of do need so I don't fully. We either need more people or we need to use less resources. One or the other.
Correct.
And to me, I would say all the freeloaders are using a bunch of resources, and you would solve that problem by just getting rid of the freeloaders. You wouldn't need any immigration.
Well, we've discussed J.D. Vance
But
on the
I
show
see.
before, and
I mean,
Sorry.
before anything else, I would agree with Mihaly.
The biggest thing, like if you're going from
There's
top
a skilled
down,
labor problem.
would be Social Security. That would be the biggest thing. If you get rid of that, that would solve a lot of the problems. But no politician's ever going to be the one that gets rid of it.
So are you kind of coming from a younger guy place here, Mihaly, of like there's all these old people that need Social Security money and it's not going to come from you, so we need more younger people?
It's not going to come from me alone. It's going to come
Isn't
from
that
all of
eventually
us.
just going to have to be a Ponzi scheme the way you're talking about it? Like you
I don't know.
always
Eventually,
need
I feel
more
like
people?
It's always been, because I've been told my whole life I'm never actually going to get anything paid to me from Social Security.
I'm genuinely interested in your perspective, and I don't. If our chat's giving you shit, and it's under.
No, I mean they're not getting under my skin.
Well,
I
I
just
see
don't
where
understand
they're coming from to some degree, but I don't agree with them if they're saying that there's a labor, like skilled labor anyway. I don't know that I'd say there's an unskilled labor problem.
Fuck skilled labor. That's what we've been telling people for the past 50 years, and now we have all these liberal arts degrees who think they're worth something. We don't have enough people swinging a hammer.
Okay, so I mean genuinely skilled labor in the true meaning of the word. But yeah, fair point. Yeah, we have those are the freeloaders from where I'm sitting. Yeah, I agree with you.
We tell all the kids that you need a 4-year degree, and otherwise you're going to be living in a van down by the river. And now you have all these kids getting 4-year degrees and choosing to live in a van by the river and YouTubing it because they think it's cool.
Hey, man. You have some, I think, pretty well thought out points on this. I don't think I would like an answer from you still, Mihaly, about why it would not be equally acceptable just to decrease the resources being used rather than add immigrants.
Because that just goes against everything America has ever done in its entire history, and that seems like a lot harder to do than to import more people.
Doing some, even if that were true, that America's never done anything like that, and maybe it is. Let's say it is. Okay. Why would it be bad to do something you've never done before?
I don't even necessarily know it's a bad thing. I think it's an impractical thing. I don't see a world where Americans are going to go.
I think that's so we're getting into the weeds now. It's not that you wouldn't be like if you could go through every illegal immigrant in the United States right now and only deport the bad ones and keep the good ones, you would be for it?
Yeah.
But you're saying it's impossible to do that?
I'm not even saying I'm anti-deporting illegal immigrants at this point. We have way too many people here that we don't know who they are and have no way of knowing who they are. So we have to almost start over. But I'm saying the goal should have been to have a immigration system that worked from 2000 when
100% should have been the goal in the beginning.
Yes,
I agree.
Not just a free flow like we have now.
Would you say, though, right now it's totally fucked because there was no realistic goal? Like, you're inheriting a problem that is not your fault, is my belief.
It's not totally fucked because there are still going to be those good people.
Yeah. Do you think the good people outweigh the bad ones? I'm not trying to lead you or suggest anything.
I mean, it's a good question, and I would honestly say my heart tells me yes, my mind tells me probably not.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm. Like, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but
you're being an optimist right now, and I respect it a lot.
Which is very anti-Hungarian, actually.
Lord of the Ree, good afternoon, my hard M's. Harrison Walls, no balls. Smash that rumblussy or like button ineffably harder. That faggot! Tim Walls will do. Yeah, that's like probably the greatest comment we've had so far. You've called back every show we've done and with one comment. That's pretty incredible. Thank you, Lord of the Ree. Always great to have you over there on Rumble, encouraging people to smash the rumblussy. Probably a crime in most first, second, third, and fourth world countries. Jack, damn it. Jack.
Mihaly, we've talked about J.D. Vance.
Jack.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jack. I'm just fucking with you. Go.
We've talked about J.D. Vance a couple times on the show before. Particularly when the left came after him for allegedly getting into fights with childless cat ladies. But what the context of those comments related to how we've been neglecting like family innovation of Native citizens, and there's no racial component to that. Like he is of course married to an immigrant woman, an Indian woman. So do you think we're really doing enough as it stands right now to incentivize people like having as much kids as possible? Because I don't think we are, honestly. And that's why I think we shouldn't rule that out
in Hungary
in favor of the mass immigration approach that politicians are currently taking.
In Hungary, if you have 3 or more kids, you don't pay taxes.
We used to have shit like that.
I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see that here, honestly.
There's the incentives. Have you guys ever heard of a book called Freakonomics?
No.
Yes.
It's
My
like
dad listens to that podcast frequently.
It's an entry. It's not very scientifically heavy or rigorous. It's very accessible, and they talk about incentives and how the economics of incentives drives a lot of behavior. So if you want somebody to do something, rather than being like what I was doing to Jack before the show with his volume, that's a terrible way to do it. You incentive, like give them an incentive and then let them figure it out for themselves. Like, hey, Jack, I'll give you $1 million if I was able to do that. If you can figure out your fucking volume settings in the next 20 minutes. I bet you he would have figured them out if I had $1 million to incentivize him with. So, yeah, that's the simplest, most basic. Here's a famous one. There's a famous animal training story. I don't know if this is really relevant, but I'm going to tell it anyway. So they had these dolphins, and the dolphins would, they were in like a pool, like fucking SeaWorld. But the dolphins hated the human trainers, as they should have, and so they would go to the bottom of the pool. You're laughing at me, Mike.
No, I'm laughing at a comment.
Oh. They'd go to the bottom of the pool and wouldn't come up and do their training. It was a bad behavior. So what the trainer this was the stroke of genius in animal training. They decided that going to the bottom of the pool was now a trick. And they would give the dolphin a treat when it went to the bottom of the pool. So then the dolphin started going to the bottom of the pool and then come back up for the treat for doing the trick. And then they stopped giving it. They just stopped asking for it to go to the bottom of the pool. And it wouldn't do it because it wouldn't get a treat anymore. So like they took something it did before to fuck with them, and they turned it against him with incentives. And then they just stopped using that command. And it worked perfectly. I just find that interesting. So
well, I'll say just to comment on what that guy said, because I actually do want to clarify that. He said, "Why?"
Who are we talking about?
It was scroll up if you can.
I might be able to.
Long story short, he said, "Why does he want more babies in Hungary but more immigrants in America?"
All right.
That's not what I want, but the fact of the matter is that we are not having enough kids. I cannot change the amount of kids that the entire country has by speaking on this podcast right now, and I'm not going to change anything.
No, and I mean, it sounds like when I kind of put the screws to you were somewhat in agreement that maybe it's not. You don't need just a pile.
More because it's directly related to replacement
birth rate.
Let's pick at this issue a bit more.
Go ahead.
Why are people having less kids?
Yeah.
Because I think that's a conversation worth having. Is it because of
you guys are at prime historically with humans anyway. The three of you are prime kid having age. Why are the three of you not having kids right now?
I think we've overextended.
This is like another 2-hour-long podcast to get.
I know, but we're gonna do. I want to hear what Danny had a thought there for the first time. He seems interested in this topic.
Well, so one, the greatest.
What man says we are gay?
Jack, shut the fuck
up. We'll make YouTubers out of you guys yet. I'm liking the fucks and the shits. We got to get some racial slurs in here. We're working on it. Go ahead, Danny. Danny's like, my God.
So, a speech I heard a long time ago from Tucker Carlson and like at a Turning Point convention, the Student Action Summit. It was in West Palm Beach. He made a point. He was like, have kids at a young age, have more kids than you can afford, buy a house when you don't think you can afford it. Like, essentially, you're never going to have the money that you think you need to do something.
Can't live life waiting for it. Yeah.
And so I see it as the greatest lie Satan has ever told humanity is that you're too poor to have children. And I think this is just something that is plaguing specifically American culture and Western culture as a whole. This isn't picking at the solution to our problems. I'm just saying I think fundamentally our society has this false notion that you have to reach a certain point of affluence.
But it doesn't even add up because if you look at the numbers, poor people have twice as many kids as rich people.
We have to watch Idiocracy. I can't believe you have
that's the whole premise of Idiocracy. That's the whole premise of Idiocracy.
That intro talks about what you're talking about.
Go ahead. Yeah, this is good. You guys keep carrying it.
So I would agree with you, Mihai, to the extent that, welfare queens have more babies than stay-at-home moms
There's
who
your incentives,
have who have a husband who's who's the major breadwinner for the family. But I can speak to this. My grandparents had 6 children, but then my parents only had 2 children. And my great-grandparents had 13 children.
Yeah, I think we're all like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's this idea that we're also concentrating more resources behind fewer children as well. Well, yes, also the rise of third wave feminism.
Well, let me throw a anthropological little wrench into all of this. So there's the strategies of child rearing have changed. It's when people had 13 kids, 7 of them would die.
Yeah, and the rest of them work in the fields.
And it was just you would the knowledge of whether or not any particular child was going to survive was such a coin flip that you accounted for that by having a large number of them. Now when you have a kid, for the most part, you can be fairly certain that kid will survive to adulthood. Just one.
Mm-hmm.
And so you put all your resources into that one kid, where before...
That's what I just said
It was
earlier.
like, oh, he died, fuck it, have 3 more. Oh, that one died, have another. It was like, people didn't even name their babies because they died so often. I'm not kidding. Or like, you ever seen that old family where like, I had 3 brothers and they all had the same name as me?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of shit?
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
I still know a family that does it. They all like... Every man has had the same name for like going back forever.
Well, so I think it's just to be a little devil's advocate-y. It wasn't, people weren't having 13 kids and all 13 kids of those, I mean, in some cases, yes, for sure. And it wasn't half of them died, more than half survived usually. But
let me put an interesting question forth to you.
Yeah.
If you are anti-immigration, anti-great replacement, fearful of the white population becoming a minority, then you should be pro-abortion.
Because it predominantly affects blacks?
Yeah. Minorities get abortions at twice the rate whites do.
Well, I think that there's a difference here in that the black population that is affected by that take abortions are natural-born citizens, whereas mass migrants are like entirely
okay, and then one generation down the line, what's the difference?
Well, the culture is the difference. If you're a black American, you still have more in common.
Is a first generation Venezuelan kid that grows up in State College going to have more of a cultural background that identifies American, or the third generation kid living in O Block in
great fucking
Chicago?
Question. This is really interesting. I think everybody has so. Trying to think of a thought experiment.
This is what I'm trying to say. It has nothing to do with race.
So what does it have to do with? Let me ask it that way. Culture?
Yeah, our culture in the 90s was way stronger than it is now, and that's a part of the problem why people are not assimilating.
Well, ignoring the color of your skin, Mihai, you're the descendant of effectively Eastern or more Eastern Europe. But if your name was Mike which Mihaly is a version of Mike, if I'm not mistaken, right?
You want to hear a funny story real quick?
Well, I'm just saying, nobody would know you weren't American. But
I had a guy who, old guy I know, he came back. He met me and he's like, hey, I Googled your name. It turns out, I don't know if you knew this, it means to be like God or he who is God. I was like, yeah, that's right. Don't you forget that.
You said, shh.
I was like, I don't know
Did
what
you
you're talking about.
Did you Morgan Freeman him? Like from Bruce Almighty?
I just put my hand on his head.
You have you're a unique well, you're not an immigrant, but your ancestry is different than somebody who immigrated from fucking the Congo, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Is part of your ability like you assimilated because you're wearing the right outfit, so to speak, with your skin color in Pennsylvania? Like if you had moved to fucking inner city Los Angeles, you probably would have had a harder time fitting it.
I would like to preface, Marikat Samoto, Mihaly is just as much a fucking American as you. Okay?
What did he say?
Danny's doing his getting irritated by trolls thing.
What does he say? What did he say?
I don't know. It's probably racist, though.
Just said you're not American, basically.
Yeah.
Let's see what he said. Why not? Mihaly is not from here, and he wants to come here. So no, I mean, I don't know if that's a serious comment or not.
Probably not, but
yeah, people are really good at fuck with people. No, Mihaly was born in the United States, and it's just like I look at Mihaly no different than myself. At some point, my European ancestors came here.
The first time I saw Mihaly, I thought he was the most southern Alabama.
Danny thought he was a fucking redneck.
Well, politicians think I'm a farmer.
I don't think anyone's saying that though. I think people are taking umbrage. Is that the fucking word old people use? Umbrage? Doesn't that mean fucking issue like old people? You're taking umbrage.
Yeah, I think you're using
with
it
what
right.
you're saying about they think you're saying bring a bunch of Mexicans and Africans in here and it doesn't fucking matter. I don't think that's what you're saying, number one.
But we're acting like this is not something that every generation in America has ever gone through.
Well, the place I would take the chat side over yours is that I don't believe we just need more people. I don't think it's that simple. I think the same solution can be found by using less resources. It's always one or the other with that kind of problem. If you're using too many resources, you can solve the problem by either having less people
I still disagree. That's
or more
not,
resources.
It's not even just that that is not the American mindset. I don't
know that you're the arbiter of the American mindset.
Okay, well, how about...
But I'm not either.
Well,
it's nothing to do with immigration or anything. I just don't think any one American gets to fucking say that this is the American mindset.
Do you know who Tocqueville is?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Tocqueville wrote a paper, Into the Wilderness. And it was his first time going into the American wilderness on his journey where he wrote his famous book about America, but part of it was a thesis on the wilderness of America. It's actually funny because it talks about his first account with Indians, and he finds them. He's like, they're wearing European clothing, but they're all wearing it wrong. The guy was passed out drunk in the gutter.
Great author. Keep going.
But he talks about how previous he would come back to this place, and what was once a village is now a town, and what was a town last time was now a city. And to American, this seems normal, but it's something the European mind can't comprehend, which I wonder if that's where that started, by the way. But he says,
interesting.
To any European, this would be so wild and unpredictable, unimaginable, unconceivable. But to them, it's everyday life.
If I'm not mistaken, Tocqueville's interesting because, he's European, right?
Yeah,
and he came
French.
to the United States.
He's basically the American version of Karl Marx.
What was the book he wrote? It was a couple books, maybe.
Democracy in America.
Yeah, Democracy in America.
If you go down, it'll probably show...
you got all three of you guys know this? That's awesome. That's fucking awesome.
Well, he literally is like the Karl Marx of capitalism.
Well, you'd be amazed how many people my age don't know this name.
I mean, I think his most famous quote is the quote about the great American experiment will fail when the people realize they can vote themselves unearned entitlements from the Treasury.
No,
He was right.
I like reading him because I also am fascinated about like that time period in American history, the Manifest Destiny and the expansion out west. I think it's awesome.
Manifest Destiny is based.
Best movie.
Manifest the Destiny from Cider Shining
20 years ago, I would have been mad at you, but right now I see what you're saying.
The best movie ever made, Dances with Wolves.
I prefer the remake Avatar.
It literally is, though. Yeah.
Avatar is like a.
It literally is.
Jake Sully in Avatar is like a disgrace to entire humankind. Like he's a traitor. And that's why I can never get into those movies. Like the main antagonist is the most sympathetic.
Well, so is
character in the movie.
Dances with Wolves. He betrayed the American military and joined the Indians. Injuns.
The Injuns.
Yeah.
Like Injun Joe and fucking one of those Huckleberry fucking something. Huckleberry.
Huckle Tom
Huckleberry
Sawyer.
Finn.
Huckleberry fin, snorkel fins, something like that. Fuck, man. I'm glad we finally got into a real conversation. It only took us a few months. You guys are losing your fear of the internet.
Tom Sawyer.
Don't lose it entirely,
Right.
because it's a wild fucking place. You got to establish dominance over it, like Mihaly just did. He gets it. He gets the chat. He gets the dialectic.
Well, I don't.
I think I would. So I want to push back a little bit on Mihaly's.
I don't know that I
overall-
fully get him yet. Go
Well,
ahead.
you'll never will.
on his immigration stance a little bit. I
Yeah.
think that we need to incentivize more native-born Americans. Like before
I
the
agree.
show,
Yeah, this is
Jack
where
was-
I differ
Jack
with
was
him on this,
talking
too.
About this a little bit. Ahead
I
of time.
fully agree with that, but we're not.
And I understand that we're not going to have like a immediate fix. It's a generational thing where it's going to take 20, 30 years.
But it's
to
a million
fix-
things. You need to get people off pills. You need to get people off birth control. You need to get people off condoms. You need to get people back dating. You need to get people
So
in marriage.
okay,
you need to get
so then
people to
this-
stop divorcing. It's so many things. It's a lot easier to
So-
just bring people in.
I
Are
don't
the
think-
people you're bringing in are doing all that shit, though? Like, if not worse.
Not the same way us white people are.
I think they are. I think they're doing it times 10. You mean like Hungarian
Depends
European?
yeah, depends on who you're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that's where your
Hold on.
argument
Yeah.
sort of fails
Wait.
for
So
me.
I just want to get. So you're saying that the average immigrant is more moral than the average American?
The average immigrant is a better member of society than your average American.
Interesting.
I no,
disagree.
Jack. I would actually have to agree to an extent. Have you ever noticed like all of your first gen American children are much more inclined to be right wingers?
They're the most
than-
patriotic people you've ever met.
Like my friend Kale, Jack. You're also friends with Kale. Kale is
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the most productive, most patriotic, most pro-American people I know. But she's the daughter of Nigerian immigrants.
You've never seen an immigrant burn a flag up until the past 10 years. So why is that?
You've never seen an immigrant burn
You would
a
never
flag?
have seen. I mean, there was rare occasions, but there's never been mass protests where immigrants are involved against America. They also risked their entire lives to come here. So why would they hate the place that they gave everything up?
Well, I don't know, but I think you're ignoring. I know for a fact that there are a lot of immigrants in, say, San Antonio, Texas, who are not white that hate America and have every
San
intent.
Antonio is wildly different.
Well,
than here,
so
and it is still America. I
Is it
understand.
possible that you're biased by the fact that you're an immigrant of white European heritage, and so like it's you? You know what I mean? I know
Yes
for
and no, but I still have family that lives here, and they don't even speak English. Like they never assimilated.
But are you maybe projecting your experience and assuming every immigrant is like your family? I don't think they
No,
are.
I think Mexicans are more like my family than most white Americans are. Have you ever had anybody work on your house?
Yeah, I think
How
it's
many of them were born here?
I've had lots of people.
Well, from Western Pennsylvania,
I have
the
an answer
Amish.
to this question. I think I have lots of people work on lots of different things for me in all kinds of different ways. And what I've always found is that about half of one race sucks and half of them suck, and then the other half are good, half suck. Whether it's Mexican or white or anything else.
I'll tell you, the problem with Mexican workers, they're damn fast, but they're sloppy. They don't watch the little.
Yeah, and there's
details.
ones that are slow and sloppy. Trust
Mhm.
me. You spend time there. You get the most salient ones when you're in the Northeast. Is like, oh, the fast ones or whatever.
What they're great for is moving things from point A to point B.
They're also you're going to be missing half your shit at point B half the time. I mean, I'm telling you.
I had a guy I work with. He had, and this is going to go against everything I was arguing about immigrants being better members of society. But he was down in somewhere in Eastern PA at a job. He parked his car at a hotel, and there's a bunch of Mexicans sitting there drinking beers out in the parking lot. And when he came back to his truck, all the tools were gone. It was like $10,000 worth of tools.
So there's two different things going on here. If you had a Mexican contractor in central Pennsylvania, he'd probably actually be pretty good. And the reason for that is he's hyper aware of the fact that he stands out. So he knows if he steals every job he does, people will look for stolen shit, number one.
Yeah.
Like he has to
That's a good
really,
point.
and right. And so minority operators of whatever kind of business in an area where they're like, if I get labeled as something, my business is over. So I have to go out of my way to prove, that Mexicans don't steal. When you go to San Antonio, where 70% of them are Mexican, and they all blend in like zebras against the herd, they don't give a fuck. They're so much more scammy.
Oh, it's a lot. It is.
And
a
white
lot
people are the
easier
same.
to
A
hide
white
when you
person,
bring in mass
if
amounts
a
of those
white
people.
consultant gets hired by China, They're going to not fucking lie and shit. They're like, I don't know this culture. I don't know what they're looking at. I'm just going to do the best of my ability. But if a white guy gets hired in America for other white people, he will know every corner he can cut. He'll know every, it's, and so I agree that we're the same in that way. But I totally disagree with you, speaking from personal experience, that Mexicans are hard workers. A lot of them are. A lot of them aren't. It's 50-50, like every other race I've ever dealt with.
What's actually true about that statement is it's not the Mexicans that are hard workers. It's actually like the El Salvadorians or like the Hondurans.
Tejanos are hard workers.
Yeah,
do you know what that means?
It's the non-Mexicans that are the hard workers.
Well, so Texas, before it was part of the United States, was like its own thing, and there's as many Hispanic native Texans as there are white ones. So you have a huge category of Texans that are Hispanic that consider themselves Texan, not Mexican, not American. And you have white people, the same thing, Texan, Texan, American, then whatever. And so they call it, so the Spanish word for Texan is Tejano.
Interesting.
So Tejanos is its own group, and they fucking hate immigrants.
I could imagine.
And they're the kind of families that were just living in that geographical area of Texas before Mexico or Texas was a country. Yeah.
But once again, to clarify, I'm not for mass illegal immigration, migration. I am for letting as many of the good people in as we can. While controlling it, we need more people.
So then the question, how do you go about doing that?
Jack still had a point to
Yeah,
make.
Jack. Sorry. Danny. Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, so my issue here is with this whole immigrant exceptionalism is that it kind of spits in the face of American exceptionalism because we've seen before, like we know from our history, like how great our citizens can be based on what has come before. And so why should we not expect our citizens to continue building upon it? And why should we necessarily need outside help, especially from people who, like, if we're just being honest here,
that's a really
did
good
not
point.
Really just stay in their own countries.
Yeah, like Mihaly. Oh, go ahead, Jack. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm keeping in mind, like, I have a ton of immigrant friends, like, who are incredibly based, like, incredibly conservative. However, like, I think it's fair to say that they are the outliers of their respective groups because. Like look at all the like.
I don't think they are.
Back of all those interviews and leftists that we saw at the start of the show. They clearly know on some level that yes, race isn't the end all be all. However, like race does play a factor into their cultural groups, and they know that a lot of racial groups vote purely in line for certain policies and certain parties. Primarily not because they thought things through, but because of peer pressure. And I think if we just overload on that aspect, then they know that they can win. Like Democrats know that they can win elections in the future.
Yeah, but is that not a messaging problem on the Republican side? If we just say we don't want any people with the skin darker than mine, how are we going to get them to ever vote for us?
Well. How would you?
These people are way more religious than any American. They're way more happy to be right wing.
And yet what they're asking for are
them.
more leftist, more leftist policies. Like they're asking for abortion. They're asking for like more government like subsidies, etc. They're asking for more policies that go against what we are asking for. Like they're going to ask for more looser restrictions.
Yeah, from Bandit 848 on YouTube. The problem with you using immigration to fix replacement rate is the same as Cali giving needles instead of fixing the actual problem.
Which is why I made the point.
It's a
about
good
I
point.
Think we need to incentivize.
Do you have a counter to that, Mihaly?
Yeah. One kills people, the other creates more people.
Okay, I think you just Mihaly, I would say fundamentally believes that the average immigrant is improving the country. Is that fair?
That's the whole reason they came here. To
He's highlighting.
So let me ask you this, Mihaly. You now are first generation, I think, right? Born in America? On your dad's side, anyway.
Yeah.
You're now an American. Should we bring in more Hungarians to replace you?
We should bring in as many Hungarians as we could, but we don't have any to give up. So
I honestly think we should too.
There's not.
But my point is that every Hungarian in one generation becomes an American, and you're making the argument that just because they gave birth, their child is now American, and we're now comparing them against this non-American. I don't think there's a difference. It's just a question of. I think everybody is saying it's just which one that. Mihaly, you seem to be saying you find culture the most important aspect of this.
Yeah, well, you look at
Jack is saying, I think the same thing. He just believes culture and race are heavily correlated, which they are. They are. Like your race will tell you statistically a lot about your culture if all you know is someone's race, to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, and I think that also pandering doesn't work as it hasn't worked in the past, because if you guys remember, Reagan was very pro amnesty when he was running, and because of that, California went from red to blue, and that's why I think it's a mistake to repeat that that sort of tactic, because it clearly doesn't work.
If you let the best Hungarians come to America, what happens to Hungary when all they have is filth? That America's great. That's my whole point. That's the best.
Is there any argument, Mia, to be made that you've now destroyed Hungary? Does that matter?
I care about America.
Fair point.
I don't care if El Salvador goes to shit. I don't care if Guatemala goes to shit. I don't care if Brazil goes to shit. I care if America's doing well.
I think it's important to note that Mihai is also talking about specifically through the hoops of the American immigration process, not just mass migration across the southern border.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, you started talking about like legal process vetting, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I'm still very much pro-wall. Hungary built a wall 10 years ago now.
Didn't you say that they sent like all of the Syrian migrants around Hungary?
Yeah. No, it was a big deal. Everyone in Europe was calling Hungary racist. The EU was threatening to not give them money. And now they're all overloaded with Muslim migrants.
And
because it was not done in a legal way, and it was not done in a way where they processed these people and identified them and what they were good at and what they were doing and how they would contribute to society.
And your issue with your umbrage with removing people is that is un-American?
I'm not anti-deporting people.
So what's your issue with reducing resources used then? Like instead of adding more people, you can
But
remove...
is your argument earlier, was your argument towards reducing resources applying to only illegal immigrants currently in the country or to all people within America as a broad stroke?
Ideally, you would have a perfect ability to separate out the people that need to go from the people that need to stay. In reality, you're going to get more. You're going to have to fuck over one group or the other. You're going to either not let in good people or kick out good people.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that.
I think it's okay to kick out a few good people in order to get all the bad ones out. 100%.
I would agree with that. But my argument against that earlier was that you're not going to be able to kick out Americans that don't do shit. They're just going to always not do shit.
No, I mean, not now anyway. Bandit 848. But then the Hungarians want to spend American money to save what's left of Hungary.
Hey, you should be thanking Hungary because we are the only reason World War III has not started because we refused to go to war on side of Ukraine.
Is it not bigger than that? Because Hungary had a lot to do with keeping the Ottomans out of Europe and all this shit.
Well, yeah, we could go back a long time.
But it's maybe even a point against your argument, though, Mihai, is maybe we shouldn't decimate Hungary.
Because the
all
Ottomans
interconnected.
The Ottomans were not trying to come to Europe and work. They were trying to come to Europe and rape our women and kill our children.
I think the chat is saying there's a lot of people doing the same thing right now.
That's why I'm legal immigration.
You're against those people.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we would all know that without you having to say that.
Hungary is very welcoming to legal immigrants. They do not like illegal immigrants. America should be welcoming to legal immigrants.
Would Hungary let me immigrate if I already ate?
If you already ate?
Yeah. What if I wasn't hungry? Have you ever in your life heard that joke before?
No. No.
It's your anger that's making me laugh at this point. It's your frustration.
Austro-Hungarian. Those were some good times.
Well, we're about at an hour, boys. In fact, we might be well past it. It's 5:54. I don't necessarily need to take a whole 10 minutes or anything like that. But I do need to go get rid of some of this beer.
Yeah.
So we're going to take at least a 5-minute break. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, well, I think that this was an interesting discussion, and I think it will go along extremely well, or it'll, like the next part of the show will add to it because we get to go into what exactly an American is and how exactly can we determine whether or not an immigrant should even be led to the United States. Like what qualities are we desiring, if not from a racial standpoint? Because I think this is an interesting discussion that's well worth having, like in the next hour.
I agree. I don't think anything anybody said's been weird. I think it's a conversation that needs to happen. We will be back in 5. I hope we'll aim for 5 minutes. How about that? We're gonna all take our beer draining break, possible cigarette break, crack cocaine break, whatever. I don't know what these guys are into, but we will be back in.
Don't put that on me.
Quickly, Therese Holland is running for our local state representative, Pennsylvania 82nd District. If you have an extra dollar or two are in an area that is not hotly contested, that is not strongly red or not strongly blue, and you have a spare buck, consider going to electholland.com. Throw her a buck. We really need to win Pennsylvania this year, especially this area. Truly asking, not demanding. electholland.com. Therese Holland, PA 82nd, will be back in about 5 minutes. I'm trying to find my killer whale button.
I was about to say you playing killer whale.
I think that's it. Yeah. All right, we'll be right back.
Legendary, nationalistic, legendary, nationalist. Well, I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. Hiding in dark spaces, looking for races. Okay, now places, lady, safety first and wait for my cadence. Okay, patience may be away from me, but crank a petting. These are the agents of hate and the pain, and we're gonna rape them. I smell a maggot hat. Now where is this faggot dad? I'm gonna stab his fascist ass in the back with the hatchet. Legendary, national. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. Whale solo. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. Nationalistic, legendary, nationalistic, legendary, nationalist. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. Hiding in dark spaces, looking for races. Okay, now places, lady, safety first and wait for my cadence. Okay, patience may be away from me, but crank a petting. These are the agents of hate and the pain, and we're gonna rape them. I smell a maggot hat. Now where is this faggot dad? I'm gonna stab his fascist ass in the back with the hatchet. Legendary, national. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale, killer whale solo. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. Nationalistic, legendary, legendary. Nationalistic, nationalistic, legendary, legendary. Nationalist. I stayed outside too long, I got too cold, I froze, I became a whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer, whale killer. All hail Neil to the white whale. Hiding in dark spaces, looking for racists. Okay, now places, lady safety first and wait for my cadence. Okay, patience may be away from me, but
Crank up that. I'm just singing to the song. All right, we got one more hour to go. We are back. Hey, Jack, what's going on?
Who was that guy from CNN?
I don't know why I did that to you. What's up?
Who was that guy from
CNN?
CNN?
Tubin.
Hey, Chadwick Puffington. Therese can outshoot you any fucking day of the week.
We got to get a video of her shooting.
Yeah, we got to give some proof.
Oh, the killer whale. Hopefully that didn't loop too many times.
Besides, electing Therese is far more palatable than electing her psychotic left-wing radical opponent.
Well, everybody's always talking about why don't we elect good people. So here I'm trying to use this platform to say strong endorsement for Therese. It's, again, if you're in a hotly contested area, you got to win your own area. I get that. But it would be helpful. It would be helpful. All right,
Yeah,
hour
chat
two. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, but just to be clear for her opponent, he is some guy. He is a guy who outright said that he is not going to work with ICE if given the opportunity. So if you care a lot about immigration and are in her local area wanting to vote for her, definitely choose her over the open borders radical.
100%.
Yeah, bro straight up said no local police cooperation with even not just ICE, but the Department of Homeland Security as well.
Clown shit. Absolutely clown shit. So the great replacement theory, I think we have a good feel for at this point, I would say. We have lots of good perspectives on it. I'm happy to bring them back up if we want to get back into that. The question on hour two.
There's definitely a metaphysical and a physical aspect to what America is.
For sure. What is America? And I'm stalling. I'm trying to get down to my damn what is America links. I have a thought on this I want to float to both of you, all three of you guys, actually. And then I'm always trying to teach things that are useful on this show. Not this show. Cider House is going to be your show, but on my show. This one.
Have you heard the theory that the Blues won the Cold War?
The Who?
The Who? Yeah, what?
Like blues music won the Cold War. Have you heard that?
Oh,
theory?
yeah. Yeah.
So like it started with blues music created rock and roll,
Exporting it to exporting our culture.
Yeah, rock and roll created heavy metal. Metallica played in Moscow in front of hundreds of thousands of people, thus marking the end of the Cold War.
Did you send me that? Did you send us that in the group chat or something?
I think I actually might have talked about it the first time I was ever on here.
I was reading about that the other day. Have any of you three young guys ever heard the noumenon versus phenomenon distinction?
Not until I was reading your show notes now.
No, you're gonna have to tell us.
These are words that I think are worth knowing because so much of what goes on now, especially with propaganda, is based on this concept. So everybody, I think, has heard the word phenomenon, right? Phenomena?
Yes.
It's phenomenal. Well, that has a meaning as a term of art in philosophy. So your noumenon is your opposite, your yin-yang. One is a noumenon, one is a phenomenon. Phenomena, plural of phenomenon, phenomena, are sort of experiential ways that you can know things. So the classic example is look at your hand. Are you experiencing a noumenon of your hand or a phenomenon of your hand? Well, the answer is a phenomenon. And how do you know that? Because what you're seeing is the visible spectrum of light, which is between about 350 and 750 nanometers, I think. Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's what you see. However, you've not properly discovered what your hand looks like, because if you hold your hand up under an X-ray machine, it looks totally different, does it not? And if you hold your hand up under infrared or like a snake, it looks totally different. So a noumenal hand is what your hand really looks like, which you can't know. Is it X-ray? Is it visible? It just what your hands looks like. You always get a phenomenal experience of your hand, but not a noumenal one. However, your hand is obviously there. There's something there that's noumenal, but what it looks like noumenally is unknowable. Does that make sense?
It does.
Hey guys, I just found out I'm a cultural Marxist.
So what I wanted to talk, I'm bringing that up, is to talk about phenomenal America versus noumenal America. Just like there's all the different ways of looking at your hand, there's many different phenomenal Americas. And then there's the question that I think Mihaly was touching upon about immigration and things like that, which is noumenal America. What is America about? Just quickly here, these terms. The term noumenon is usually credited to Kant, Immanuel Kant, although Schopenhauer would disagree. The difference, this is Schopenhauer. The difference between abstract and intuitive cognition, abstract and intuitive, that's the difference, which Kant entirely overlooks, was the very one that ancient philosophers indicated as phenomena and noumena, the opposition and incommensurability. Oh my God, this font's too small. Hold on, I'm blind. The opposition and incommensurability between these two. Oh, now I got to scroll over. Jesus. Anyway, Schopenhauer's point is that this discussion is between noumenon and phenomena has been going on since Plato and Aristotle under the names nominalism and realism. You have something that's real and then you have something that's nominal, or the name for it, right? So you have a hand and then you got to use the word hand to describe it. But a Spanish person would call it a mano. So what's the right word for hand? Same problem, right? You can call it whatever you want as long as the person understands. So, the phenomenal America, the ways you experience it, I'm going to skip over, I'm going to speed run a few of these, but they are part of what makes America. Is it the lower 48, the contiguous United States, or does it include Hawaii and Alaska? Which one of those is America? Or does it also include the 5 insular territories, Puerto Rico, Northern Marianas Islands, Virgin Islands, Guam, American Samoa? Right off the bat, what is America has those phenomenal questions you need to answer. Also, the borders have changed over time. It initially was British colonies and places French colonies and places Spanish colonies. So what America is phenomenally depends on what time, what year you're asking that question. Might seem meaningless, but these are important things. The population, currently right around 400 million. I think, something like that.
So they say.
3 to 400 million. The geography. Pretty much every climate you can imagine is America. It's terrain, vast central plain, interior highlands, blah, blah, blah. Natural resources is part of what makes America. Coal, copper, lead, molybdenum, phosphates, rare earth elements. You get the idea. Natural hazards, part of what makes America. Tsunamis, volcanoes, earthquake activity, blah, 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 blah. You have the 8 physiographic regions. Now we're getting into things that are really going to start affecting culture. Starting with the 8 physiographic regions. So we have state borders. They're arbitrary for the most part. I know some of them are based on rivers and shit like that. But there are these physiographic divisions. There's 8 of them in the United States, climate-wise. You have the Laurentian upland. You have the Atlantic plain. Why am I bringing this up? Because the ways you have to survive change in these areas. Go ahead.
What is the green on the top?
Right here?
Yeah. What is that area?
Oh.
How is the whole Upper Peninsula not a part of that?
Oh, that looks like the boundary waters of Minnesota right there.
Yeah, I know. What are they calling that area?
I can't read that. What does that say?
Just scroll down. There's a list farther down.
Damn it, man.
Farther. There you go. Now zoom out.
Yeah, but it's not.
I'm getting caught in the weeds here. I'm just genuinely curious.
No, I don't think it had the color was the problem.
Well, you can probably make an inference based on the.
Oh, you're right. Can't we? It's probably the Laurent.
Superior
it's probably
upland. Yeah, so the Upper Peninsula would be a whole part. Okay, I get it.
No.
Wait. The place that's on
It's not the Atlantic Plain. It's not the Appalachian Highlands.
It's
It's not the Interior Plains. It's not the Interior Highlands. It's not the Rocky Mountain System.
It's not the plateaus.
It's not the Intermontane Plateaus. It's not the Pacific Mountains. So
it has to be the Superior upland.
Referring to Lake Superior, probably.
That's yeah.
Sort of.
Oh.
No.
Well, the problem is it's different Wikipedia pages, and then you got other people going on.
I know. So, well, yeah, fucking. Oh, wait.
They're all just as confused as I am.
Canadian Shield.
Why couldn't you zoom in on that anyways? Like, why did it get blurry when you tried to
I don't
zoom
know.
in?
Let's go back there. Go ahead, Jack.
Because you didn't donate enough money to Wikipedia when they were begging for it.
A book that I'm.
It's the Laurentian Uplands. Okay.
Yeah. So a book that I reread partly for this topic is a book called Albion Sea by David Hackett Fisher. Are you familiar with it?
Sounds kind of familiar, honestly. Is this one of your links?
No, but you can look it up on Wikipedia. I can give you I can just tell you what it is. It's from a British author, so but he heavily looked into the history of the United States, and he makes an argument that the core of the United States isn't that there is simply one major cultural group, but that there are in fact 4 entirely different American cultures that come directly from different parts of Britain to form the collective identity of the United States.
Okay.
And these are things that define our worldview, our religious practices, the way we interact with politics, and a number of other things. And he makes it he makes a pretty compelling case that a lot of people living in the United States right now will be a part of one of the 4 groups, which are the Puritans, the Planters, the Borderers, and the Quakers. And I think he gives a brief description up there of the 4. Yeah, above.
Yeah.
Down.
Well, so I don't want to get too deep into this one specific book, but you're saying he's broken down not too dissimilarly from something like this, although he said 4 sort of cultural.
Well, I think that's a geographical distinction. Quite.
Well, you guys all jumped the gun on me here as I was getting to all the cultural stuff.
Think about the fact that Pennsylvania is where the primarily Dutch and German immigrants and Scottish Highlanders settled, and then they spread out into the Midwest. So culturally, if you're looking at a map, I think you'd see from Pennsylvania going out into the Midwest.
Yeah, this is purely so to live in this orange area is much different than living in this fucking area, is what I'm saying. That's the only we were just as one stop of many on the way.
We got in the weeds.
Yeah, but I think you're understanding the whole point, and maybe we don't need to go through all the weeds. It's just there's many fucking different phenomenal Americas, and it's all dependent on how you want to look at it. Is it more important that when people first arrived in the 1700s that the Germans found the places similar to Germany and the Spanish to Spain and the you know?
Did you ever watch the?
Or is religion more important? Or is culture more important? Yeah, go ahead.
Did you watch 1886, the Yellowstone spinoff?
Yeah.
So the whole premise of it was this group of German immigrants trying to get out west to Colorado.
Oregon. They were in Colorado trying to get to Oregon.
They didn't start in Colorado.
God damn it doesn't matter.
They started
Yellowstone.
in
Or does it matter? Does it matter?
I mean, I think it's an interesting
Well, right. So you're seeing you guys.
Mihaly was in the middle of making a point, though.
Well, go ahead.
No, I mean, I just agree that, like, you see where these immigrants came and where they got to. There's a reason they got to those places. But I think probably geographical likeness, if you look at the Appalachians and the people that settled those, they actually settled the same mountain range without even knowing it, that connects onto the ocean to the same ones in Scotland that they would have lived in before. So I don't know that I think religion did play a part of it, but I think it's more people going to what they know.
Well, yeah, this is a lot of overlapping things. Yeah. Is it that they knew it, or was it religion?
Or was
can you
like
tell?
A genetic memory of familiarity?
Maybe it fucking was. I don't know. But
to them, it probably would have been religion because they would tell you that they prayed.
Look, I do know this. If I was to move to a totally foreign land and try to survive, I'd try to, if I could, fucking be in a spot that was as close to this spot as possible, just for obvious reasons. And so it's not weird to me that people that came from Mexico ended up in American spots that are closest to Mexico, and French to French and whatever. For the most part, in generalizations. Are there anecdotal exceptions? Yes, of course there. Here's the problem, though, is you have this orange area and the people that know how to live there, but then like Mihaly's saying, or Danny was saying, they spread to the Midwest now as technology is. So now we're in this, all this shit has been mixed up. And it's hard to say why an individual area or culture is even there anymore. Here's another example. The four of us are relatively similar in terms of upbringing culturally, even down to the location. We're wildly different people from each other. Another Hungarian immigrant could be very different.
Most likely would
you
be
see what I'm
very
saying?
different than me, yeah.
So even when you try to give these kind of things value, like, hey, all these immigrants came from this arbitrary border called Hungary. It's not going to really tell you anything that useful other than that they're all pretty much Hungarian, which of course they are. They came from Hungary. But is it a predictable model for any one individual Hungarian of how they'll be? No, it's not, because there's always going to be exceptions, or you might have a totally decent Hungarian guy who gets to the United States as an immigrant and then his wife cheats on him and he goes crazy. And it'd be very easy to say Hungarians are crazy, that happens with immigrants. It's just one bad person is a bad example. So it's complicated. What is America is really the point. Mm-hmm. It's complicated. And we're talking about, it's not just geographical, but it changes through time. And so this is demographic history of the United States is my next one. Going back to the year 1610, population 350.
Wait, is that Gerg C guy saying he is Hungarian? I'm confused.
Oh, I didn't. Where's it?
No, somebody asked where you're
roots.
from.
Oh.
With Hungarian roots.
Yeah, I thought he was like shouting himself out.
All right, so you see 350 people. Obviously, that's kind of not really part of it, but million people in 1750. And here we are now. And, right, so over time, these numbers are all changing. So America...
You see that marriage, how rapidly it just shot up?
Right here?
Yeah.
Look, fucking... 200 years ago.
Jeez.
200 years ago, 16.7. It's double. It's more than double.
John, you should be married.
I know, I should. I'm part of this.
You're beyond the statistic now.
That's wild, actually, though. Think about a time where median age is 16.
The immigration was in waves. So as I remember, it was kind of, French, Dutch. Germans were sort of the first non-English. The Irish were part of a second wave.
You know, there's a really interesting statistic out there that, like, most white Americans will say they're partially German, and then turns out, in fact, most white Americans are more English than they are German.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
I actually
would
fall victim to that because I would tell people I'm also part German before I would say I'm part Welsh.
Ooh, I don't know if an English person would agree that Welsh and English are the same.
They're not, but it was the argument still holds up.
The northern frontier around the initial New England settlements was mainly settled by the Yankee descendants of the original New Englanders, blah, blah, blah. Yes, English Civil War. Yeah, mostly English at first. That's why we speak English. But anyway, so demographics have changed over time. This damn cat. Generational cohorts. What is America? You would get different answers from these. The term of art is generational cohort. Cohort in social science just means a group of people. Generational cohort means you're grouping people by generation. These are the American generations. Lost generation, greatest generation, silent generation, Baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha. All of these groups are wildly different from each other, and within each group, you're going to find people wildly different from each other. What is America? Any thoughts? Tough question, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, like I said before, in regards to the book Albion Seed, there's a collection of specific beliefs that we've inherited from different cultural movements throughout the history of the United States. Like, for instance, the Quakers, they were centered here in PA initially.
William
and
Penn.
They were a civic nationalist group that were very tolerant and very welcoming of different backgrounds, of different ethnic groups, religions, etc. So they didn't have to be necessarily Quakers. But then there were other groups such as the Puritans, who by comparison were pretty much ethnostatists. They were very but they were also very educated because they had to make sure that they learned how to read, to learn the Bible, and they had a very they were responsible for building up the American intellectual life, by providing education in universities. Then you had the planters, and those are pretty much the aristocrats from Britain that they fought for the crown, and they pretty much built up the global South, and they brought in indentured servants and slaves from Africa. And then there's finally the borderers, and they pretty much fit the stereotype or the archetype of the American cowboy, because they were pretty much in a weird position originally, between Scotland and I think it was Scotland and England, and it was pretty much an anarchy. They pretty much lived in anarchy, where England and Scotland didn't really meddle in their affairs too much. So they basically lived they basically lived by a raw, unbridled, individualism, and so they were pretty much scattered all throughout the United States, and until they were pretty much settled to being a Appalachian, and that group can be labeled the modern American working class. But again, it's a 1,000-page book, but it delves really deep into each of these four groups and how specifically American culture derives its current culture by becoming an amalgamation of all four of those groups. And I would highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah. And I mean, groups get amalgamated, and after a certain point, they become something new. That's none of those four original groups. In the same way, you're not your parents, you're not your mom, you're not your dad. You're something new.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's just one combining of genes. And so, yeah, I'm hesitant. I mean, that guy is using a model, and he's using a model that breaks things down into four categories. Are they accurate? I have no fucking idea. I mean, it sounds like it's a really useful, interesting book, for sure. There's also a different model that's the physiographic 8 regions, and there's a different model that's the 20 different religions, and there's a different model that's those 20 different religions and how they evolved over time, right? So here's what I think at the end of the day of all this kind of thinking, which is awesome and fun to do and really interesting, you lose sight of the fact that you are now part of the American generation that is alive, and you have every right to decide and dictate what America is and will become. Mark Pierce, thank you. You're a fan. I appreciate it. Just because it was one way or something, and I mean, maybe kudos to Mihaly here for being the one that is knowingly saying things that might be unpopular in pursuit of just thinking about it. But, the more immigration...
I'm just trying to offer the more pragmatic.
Right. Well, so it's not so black and white. As you're like I was saying, you inherited a bunch of problems you had nothing to do with.
The biggest problem not the biggest problem, because there's so many problems of why we're at where we're at, but the Republicans that actually, the real Republicans, not the fake ones that we've been sending to Congress for the past 50 years, we're so hard set in our ways that we become such a small minority of even the Republican Party that we lose any message and any ability to create any change within the two-party system. And I feel like we need to come up with better ideas that are more pragmatic. I mean, it just things that can actually be implemented and not a total pipe dream.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can go. I have tons and tons of links on what is America that are all backward looking, and they're super fascinating. And I think it's like educational attainment in the United States is a big one. Don't have that up anymore. You know, what college degree you have, how does that affect your culture and all that kind of stuff. Tons of effects of that. What language do you speak? That has tons of effects and all that.
You know, I am kind of still like gonna push this. We really need to freaking make English a nationally like.
Well, yeah. So I think that, and this is not my thought. People have been thinking this for a long time, but it's hard to have a successful society that is not homogenous. And in my early life and before, it was homogenous racially.
Well, so
and that
even,
race
like,
was white.
Going back to like the Great Replacement stuff, like just think about ancient Rome. Whenever the Huns started pushing the Eastern Europe, like the residents of Eastern Europe.
Huns are cool. Mongols are bad.
Well, the Mongols pushed the Huns further into Europe, and then the Huns pushed Eastern Europeans further into Roman territory, and then the Romans couldn't handle the mass influx of then people living in the Balkans and Eastern Europe moving into the Roman Empire, and they just couldn't support an empire anymore, and it was no longer homogenous either.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is a good example of homogeny over time. The Huns, the Hungarians, the Hungarians are called the Hungarians because people thought they were Huns because they looked identical to the Huns when they arrived.
You were Turkish.
We came from Siberia, and we had the Asian eyes, and we had looked like the Mongols, Huns, all the people that had previously come from that area. And so they called us Huns, and then over time, we now look like every other white Eastern European due to people having sex and people changing over time. So we think the end of the world happens in one generation, but then over time, it usually heals itself. But we just can't let it go too far, which we are very close to. I'm not denying that.
Great point.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, the fact that the Roman Empire was never fully homogenous, but like this inner workings of the state was homogenous. Like you had people who were fluent in Latin who were running the show, and but then you have a mass influx of migration who is no longer who isn't accustomed to the way that the Roman Empire functioned, and then you saw the eventual decline of the Roman Empire because there was these migrants to the territory that they then had to support. Like the Emperor of Rome was like, "Oh, I guess I'll let you stay in the right on the river front," but then they kept pushing into the inner territories, and the Roman Empire could no longer support them.
It was not terribly dissimilar with what's happening in the United States right now, for sure. It's at a certain point you got to import people to maintain. Like this is I think, Mihai, where the anti-immigration from the more thinking people in the chat is coming from. It's nothing about what color you are. Most people don't give a shit, honestly. I think they think the way I do. It's funny to laugh about, but at the end of the day, of course we want skilled people, and what they look like is so secondary to their skill level, it almost doesn't matter. That being said, they hit a point where they had to import foreign troops and mercenaries and things like that. It just hit a tipping point where the Roman population wasn't Roman anymore.
My question is, do you think we are at the end of the Republic or at the end of the Empire?
American?
I think we're at the end of the Republic.
I think we're at the end of the Empire. I think the Empire began in 1776, and all the history in America before that was the Republic.
I would disagree with that.
I think the American Empire never was. The American country probably died whenever the Federal Reserve was finally founded, and since then it's been an empire, but not an American one. And the empire that currently rules the world is not American, and I think it's not going anywhere for quite some time. That's my take.
Yeah, I think
America enjoyed 1776 to 1876 roughly of being America, and then it's been gone since then.
I think if all things continue down the path they're on, the taking will be ripe for a strong man to just swoop in and just be like,
tons of people. Yeah,
we're gonna have an empire now.
Looks a lot like the lead up to Caesar.
Looks a lot like Barron Trump.
Yeah, right. Right.
I mean, if everyone keeps saying it, when he actually does run, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, no, but yeah."
He'll be 14 feet tall by then.
Yeah,
he's just gonna keep growing.
We've
I just thought this was interesting. I pulled this one up. We talk about nobody really talks about emigration from the United States. Talk about what the world's going to look like. 1.5 million Americans in Canada, 1 million in Canada. That's probably irrelevant. 1 million in India. quite a lot in the Philippines, Israel, Germany, France. The Eastern Asian countries are kind of interesting. So the world will look very different in 1,000 years, and a lot of it will be because of these, where'd Philippines go again? These 220,000 to 300,000 to 600,000 half-white babies that popped up there every fucking year. Yeah. Yeah, and so it'll become, in 1,000 years, if we don't maintain a history of how this all happened, it'll be incomprehensible of how people got where. You know what I mean?
So you're saying that that's what makes an American, just recognizing yourself as American and identifying.
I don't know that we've established what it makes an American yet. We're certainly getting closer. So or what is America? I guess.
I thought we established it like an hour ago when it was whoever can eat the most hot dogs.
Fucking hot dog contest.
Yeah.
I mean, do you need to be born in America to be American?
Well, you can have a certificate and not be.
No, I don't mean literally, you autist. I mean artistically. Let's think of like artists.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, I would say.
So,
like,
Mihaly, if you married an American woman and you were on vacation in England and had a baby, you didn't have an American baby?
No, that's like the abortion argument. Like, well, if I get raped, there's
no. It's a question
of,
of, are you going to raise the baby in fucking England or are you going to raise it in America?
Well, then that completely changes the answer. If you raise it in
gotta
America,
think this way.
Well, if you raise it in America, it's obviously going to be American, not just because it was.
Well, but so we've done some scientific discovery that has meaning. Do you need to be born in America to be American? I don't think so.
Not technically, because if you're born in a military base in Germany, you're still
right.
American.
So you need to be born to American parents to be American.
Oh.
See what I'm saying?
Well,
so now you have a tricky thing because you weren't.
I think it has to do with the experience of being an American. And so if you're going to be, even if you were born in a military base but then lived in Germany your entire life, I would still probably not consider you.
So where do you draw the line? 50% of your time in America? 60% of your childhood? Is it your whole life or your formative years?
I think formative years
I would agree.
Would be more, not necessarily more important, but would be the foundation you need to become American.
You went and spent 5 years in China. Are you Chinese?
But at what point in my lifetime?
Right now, you went and spent 5 years in China.
Right now, I went no, I wouldn't become.
Yeah, I agree.
They would never look at me as Chinese.
If you lived there for 50 more years, would you be more Chinese than American? I think you probably would because you got 50 years there, 20 years here.
I don't think they would ever say that.
No, I agree. Right. So you see how hard this is to really fucking wrap your fucking brain around and why language matters so much.
But you see, and you can also look at how they would go about things than how America's gone about things.
Well, so if Chinese natives don't consider you Chinese despite you living there for 50 years and being totally Chinese, are you Chinese? Does the natives accepting you affect your label?
No, but I think that the better question is the effect on society, whereas their population is actually collapsing way worse than ours is, and they would never allow immigration the way we.
No, I'm just purely talking about. The question is what is America, or I guess in a sense, what is American?
Yeah, but then you look at how we have allowed people throughout history.
If all Americans told you you're not American, if every single American citizen said, "Mihaly, you're not American," are you American?
Well, I'm not self-righteous enough to say I would disagree with every single American if they told me I was one thing.
If every person on the planet told me I'm not American, I would be like, they're wrong.
Yeah, I mean.
So what is an American? How do I know that?
True
am I wrong?
I don't care how they think, but.
Well, so, but does that matter? Does being accepted matter to your actual status? I think sometimes yes, sometimes no, right?
I don't think so. I think it just depends on the individual basis and how they actually go about their life.
If you go to a court, if you're born in the United States, you're an American citizen despite immigrant parents, you go to a court on paper, you're legally an American citizen, are you not?
Yeah.
So is being an American citizen?
No, because you can be un-American while still being an American citizen.
I would agree with that. I think being American is also like part of being an American is part of being proud to be an American. Not necessarily proud of your government, but just proud to be an American.
You're talking about bringing over, for example, Mihaly, Hungarians who fit into our culture who would be a net positive. Are they American? before coming here?
Do they burn flags and protest in the streets?
But you see, is their mindset of working hard and succeeding, is American a mindset?
America is, the classic term is America is an idea, right? But it's so much more than just an idea, because it's an idea that was acted upon and then an idea that was, I don't know, throughout those actions built. But I think America, the land of opportunity, is the one that always struck with me the most, though, that saying, because I think in its truest form, which we've somewhat lost and almost are damn close to losing the whole thing, but there really was a place where people could come, and I mean, you look through the founders, they came here. The first people landed on a boat. I traveled on a boat for a year. They got here, said, all right, now we have to build a town. And then they built a town. Probably 90% of them died, but somehow we're here today. So I think just endless pursuit, reckless ambition, that's what America is.
I don't fully disagree, but somebody living in Hungary who spiritually is American, I would say you could definitely make the argument they're not American. And I think you'd be pretty right in a lot of cases. Go ahead, Jack.
I would say what makes an American is a sort of nationalist sentiment, right? Like believing in the American way of life, the American dream, American exceptionalism, etc. However, if you don't live in the United States, you won't be an American nationalist, but you could potentially be a nationalist of your country of origin, if that makes sense. And you want to replicate.
What if you're from India and you hate the way India does shit, and you look at the United States and be like, man, that's the way I think. I want to be there.
I would still say that you're a nationalist because, so there's a difference between being a patriot and a nationalist. So being a patriot simply means loving your country, and you can be a patriot no matter what period of time your country is going through. I would still be a patriot current day. And I would still be a patriot during hard times, like during the Great Depression, because those are things that are outside of those. The setting doesn't really matter. It's just do I have a love for my country? However, if I'm looking at this from the mentality of an American nationalist, I'm looking at my country in a more critical eye, and how I can. With the mindset of how I can improve upon it. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I see a good... I think what I'm getting at, gentlemen, none of you seem discerning enough to really notice how important that numinal phenomenal thing was just a few minutes ago. Let me find it again. Damn it. Where's my fucking link to Numenon?
Yeah, well, here's a question.
Go ahead, Jack.
And Danny, would you guys say that you guys describe yourselves as nationalists or
Yes.
American nationalists?
Yes.
And that's in spite of the fact that the elites or politicians in Congress.
It should be every American's innate desire to see the United States be the best damn country on the face of the earth.
Well, I think the biggest battle we face today is the nationalist versus the globalist.
Correct.
I think that's the more accurate breakdown than
I agree, and I think we're losing because we cannot articulate what is America.
We're also, from a young age, told to think that nationalism is bad because I don't know if this was the case when you were in middle school and early high school, John, but your history teachers always like to pair nationalism with being a Nazi. With being,
yes, and that's a stupid analogy.
100%. That'll all change.
Stupid comparison, yeah.
That'll all change. We've all discussed phenomenal Americas. We've not yet touched upon the numinal America. Do we want to keep going?
Sure, we can keep going.
I know Jack's down. I mean, tell me if this doesn't make sense. Does this make sense what I'm saying at all?
No, it does. I think the numinal would be the actual person that goes. What is it? So, tell me why don't you actually ask?
Well, let me. You guys are American, all three of you, and I am too. Do you feel like you should have some say as an American in who else gets to call themselves American?
I would say.
Is it a club?
At the ballot box, yes.
Well, I just mean like, are you more American than somebody born in another country? Just born in another country.
Born in another country that has become a naturalized citizen? No.
Did I fucking say naturalized citizen? Are you more American than...
I am more American than a non-American
Ranjit
citizen.
Shijawame in India, who lives in India, born in India, speaks Hindi. Are you more American than him? This isn't a trick question.
But I don't understand how you could call yourself an American if you've never set foot in the United States. Like, that's just an alien
I'm not
concept.
saying that.
Like,
I'm saying you three are American. Do you guys have a right to tell other people whether or not they're American because you are one?
The question I have is, what is our method of enforcing that right? I agree with what he said. You have that right at the ballot box, but I'm not going to go.
We're talking abstract. It's not legal. Just do you believe humans have any rights at all?
Well, yeah, they're God-given.
Yeah, do you believe a God-given right is to say this is my room and I get to decide what people in this room call themselves? Like, this is my place we're sitting in, and if for some reason we had to decide, we got to choose a name for ourselves. Who has the most right to what we call ourselves in this room?
I think the right thing to do would be hospitable.
We have the right to. Sorry, go ahead.
But this is my home.
This is your home.
And I would be hospitable.
And we should show equal respect to you.
I agree.
As you
But
showed
say
us.
none of that happened and we're talking pure logic. Who gets the final say of who gets to call themselves a John's Room citizen?
Who has the
Me,
whoever
Danny,
has the ability,
Mihaly, or John, or Jack?
Well,
whoever has the monopoly on violence.
Well, so that's Mike makes right. That is one philosophical answer to that question.
Like asking the Jamestown colonists, all right, which one of us is Americans? Because if we were to play this out, then 10 generations down the line.
No, it's like going into the house of someone that lives in Jamestown and saying, whose house is this? Who has the most right to calling this their house?
Probably the person that built it.
I would agree.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I would still say, I would just say that it's.
I'm not being it, but like,
I get what you're saying.
if we're in a house or a room that I own, it's mine, and you guys have yours, but we're temporarily in mine, then I would say logically, I don't think it would, because we're reasonable, right? If we're living in the real world, we would never have a conflict over this. We wouldn't even bring it up. Who fucking cares what we call ourselves? But in this thought experiment, let's say we've exhausted all politicking, exhausted all ability to be nice to each other. Now we're having a war. When we're not talking about the strongest person, because might makes right is a philosophical answer. Who would decide? Whoever won the fucking fight gets to decide. Yes, that is objectively true. But if we believe in inalienable rights that humans are endowed with, in a sense, by God, like Mihaly said, I would say that I have the right. And then if we went to Mihaly's house, he would have the right. And if we went to Danny's house, he would have the right. And it's even beyond, Danny and maybe didn't build the house he lives in, but it's more his than mine. At any given point in time, however you want to slice it, Danny's fucking house is more Danny's house than John's house.
In that hypothetical, is every house a different country?
Is it not? Is that not exactly how we live and treat each other?
No, I agree. So then, obviously, the person that, but then that would be the one person would equal the all like the population of that country living within it. So they would have the more. The right
so
to
part
call
of the
themselves
reason we
that.
lose this.
What I'm saying is, you're the only one that can actually say.
Correct.
Yes.
So it gets tricky if there's two people, right? Two people, and then what if those two people argue about whose house it is?
Mm-hmm.
Then everybody wins. It's chaos, and you can do whatever you want in that house. That's exactly how I think our country's been kind of subverted, and it's bringing us sort of full circle here of what is America, what is American. It's you have this perfect world you can construct in your mind for sure, and Mihaly's and mine as well. It would be regulated immigration that was finding somehow through some series of tests the highest quality people possible. However, if I were king of the universe, I would say, what's it going to look like in 100 years when everybody smart's in one spot? And
you ever seen the movie Old School?
Yeah, sure.
So the immigration test should be the test that they had to go through at the end of that movie.
Dropping the cinder blocks tied to their balls?
No. That would be funny. Just to scare the shit out of them when they got here. No, when they had to do like all like the gymnastics and like the dance show and the cheerleading to like save their frat. Set them through a series like rigorous course of events. And
yeah, 100%.
Like a Mr. Beast video. Turn into Mr. Yeah, that's how we should do our immigration.
That is
Just
exactly
turn
how
into a Mr. Beast video.
Functional societies always work that way.
Yeah.
Free
market
born,
solves it.
The women sort of raise you when you're helpless. All of a sudden, somewhere around the age of puberty, all the men come, they rip you out of the arms of the woman, if you're a man anyway, and you enter a new adult male culture, the warrior culture.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we've lost that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to have a culture that can walk you from childhood to young manhood to old manhood if there's no fucking connection anymore, and there's not. It's been totally blown up.
The point that Crash Kid made is the point I was trying to also get across.
Elon Musk, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just like, I think it's possible for a non-native born American to be more American than native born self-deprecating, self-hating American.
Sure. Say some guy moves here from Iran, and he's 30 years old when he moves here, and he spends 30 years living here just doing everything he can to be as American as possible.
You talking about Patrick Bet David?
No, but I'm just a thought experiment. Good one though. Now there's Nancy Pelosi's great-granddaughter is born in the United States. She's the daughter of a great-granddaughter of a fucking whatever Pelosi is. Goddamn monster. And she's only been alive for 2 years. She can't even speak English yet. Who's more American? The 2-year-old baby or the 30-year-old or the 60-year-old man who's been working here for 30 years and loves the country, but he's from Iran?
Well, that goes along with what we were saying before. Like, you're not necessarily American if you just have citizenship, because being American is more than that. It's an abstract idea. It's having like a certain mindset.
Well, how about this, Jack, or all you got? So say, Jack, your dad is a war hero, let's say, and the whole country loves him, let's say, and then you're born. Do you deserve any sort of special treatment because you're the son of a famous American?
No.
I agree.
No.
I kind of agree.
I am not my father. I'm not my father, and I should be expected to be looked at individually on my own merits.
Are you at 2 years old more American than an immigrant's 2-year-old baby? You're both 2-year-old babies. Your parents are American war heroes. The other baby born in America, same hospital as you, let's say, same day even, but their parents are from some other country, first generation. No. Who's more American?
Neither. They're the same.
I mean, it's a fair question. I don't know the answer, honestly.
Yeah, it's totally up to what they do within their life.
I mean, I'd say Jack might have the potential to be more American because his parents hold more of American history in their heads or something like that. I don't know.
I would say I have the advantage because I actually am born of American parents. However, I don't necessarily see why I think the immigrant child, like, they didn't get a say as to whether or not they could or could not be American. So maybe I don't necessarily see why they can't determine for themselves whether they want to be American or not.
Oh, because they're 2 years old, Jack.
In their own home country.
Because they're 2.
Yeah. I mean, when they gradually grow up.
Well, then that's not the 2-year-old question anymore. Free Golem, quickly comment: de facto versus de jure American, etc. These are legal terms of art. Also, the American knows what he is because he knows what he isn't. That's a good form of logic. If you find yourself struggling with the question of what are you, then try the question of what are you not. Great thought there. I think I would encourage you young guys to think about that comment at length if you're so inclined. De facto and de jure I'll pull up here real quick, but
talking about the soup of the day?
Right. That is French for of the day. Hopefully I got that right. These are Latin terms to contract. De facto means, of course, in fact. God damn it, this is terrible. Well, anyway, we're doing all kinds of dichotomies. I would not use the AI answer, but somewhere down here that I don't feel like going through. All right, look at there, Quora. Quora will tell you.
Go to Ask Jeeves.
Is that still around? There's no fucking way that's still around.
Dude, I used to like come home with questions on my freaking homework. My mom would be like, well, just go to Ask Jeeves.
Let's Ask Jeeves. It's still up? No.
Hell yeah.
It's just ask.com. What happened to Jeeves?
Yeah, wait, what?
2000, yeah, still there, ask.com. Man, are people still using the search engine? Should we bust ask.com back out?
It's probably. It's like almost like it was ChatGPT before it was ChatGPT.
Depends on the kid's mindset. All right, what time are we at here? We're pretty much there. 6:50. 6:50. That was a great discussion. I don't know that we got any definitive answers out of it, or nor we should. This is the kind of fucking talking we need to start doing, and I'm glad you younger guys. I need a different term for you because you're fucking not younger guys, like you're adults.
Well, in 1865 or whatever that was earlier,
like
we're
in
on the tail end
1865,
of
you'd
the
be like,
life.
I gotta roll out this podcast because I gotta go feed my 47 kids.
Yeah,
you know, fucking and my nine wives, and I'm just assuming you would have been more Mormon Mihai.
Mm-hmm. Nah,
Mihai Young, son of Brigham. Mihai Smith, son of Joseph. All right. Anyway, I got no further thoughts on any of this other than that I love conversations that you go think about even more. I'll throw the chat up here quickly. Jack, you're on a delay, so I'll ask you first so I don't interrupt you. Final thoughts.
I think this was a very productive conversation, even if we didn't have any definitive answers, like you said. I think the main takeaway is that, yes, this quote-unquote great replacement is real, though you may want to call it something else, but just acknowledge that it is a thing, and it's at its core, it's a policy position, not a conspiracy theory.
I totally believe it is happening. It is not a conspiracy. Like I said, we got demonetized 2 seconds into this for talking about it. It is what it is. They do that to you. The flak is heaviest when you're over the target, they say. So getting demonetized is a badge of honor in a sense. Good talk, though. I would like to talk about this more, if possible. I don't want to cut off anybody's final points if they have one.
the Great Replacement is real. It's been real for the entire existence of America. It's about how we handle that influence. You look at the reason why Columbus Day is a thing, it's because we were pandering to the influx of Italian immigrants at the time. The railroads were built by the Chinese. We've all heard these things before. We all got here for different ways, and the people that were here before us were angry because those people got here. And now we need to control that influx and bring the best of them if we can. If not, bring less than we're bringing now for sure, and build that damn wall.
I'm hitting Danny's butt. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, the Great Replacement is 100% real, and I think it highlights a cultural crossroads for us. Are we going to try to save what remains of America and try to leave something for the next generation, namely us? Whenever, are we going to have the ability to go out and build financial wealth with a family to create something that lasts into the future? And is the reading through the comments while you go through the show, yeah, we don't know that. If Kamala Harris gets elected, the world is not going to exist as we know it in another 3 years.
Yeah.
Hands down, we'll be in World War III. Who knows how many nukes will have gone off? Who knows if she'll be cackling in a bunker while we're in the trenches in some Pacific Rim style
she will
combat
be.
zone.
I know, she will be.
But I think this boils down to a cultural question of what do we do as Americans? Do we go out into the political sphere and do we get involved and try to elect politicians who align with us, or at least are less likely to send us down the shitter like we're currently going? Are we going to finally build the wall like Mihai said? Are we going to finally start pushing back on the medical industrial complex, the agricultural industrial complex, the military industrial complex? Everything's a shit show. I'm black-pilled right now. Everything's a shit show.
I agree, though.
Well, let me go ahead. Mia.
The entire history of our country has led up to this moment. We're at an inflection point, and so it's up to us now. I think pre-internet, none of this would have been possible, obviously, and just the possibilities we have now, we can actually fight back, and now we're all awake, and it's just time to bring people to the winning side. And those that aren't awake, I'm not going to say they're zombies, but you got to do everything you can.
It's also just
can't stop fighting the good fight.
A lost hope with those people to a degree. Whenever you have somebody just screaming in your face when you're door knocking for a candidate that Trump's a traitor and they're never going to vote for any Republican because of Donald Trump.
It's tactical. Get you to not fucking care.
Yeah. These people.
Oh. I had a thought there, but I forget what it was. But I want to
Danny,
soak
you
in the
wanna promote
fact.
the Instagram?
Jack, I feel like you had a final thought. Oh, yeah. What's going on with the Instagram, Danny?
Just go follow it. It's the handle is the
Maybe we
_
won't
cider
put,
house.
Yeah, there's nothing on there right now, right?
No.
So we're studio update is the studio's going to be finished Monday. I just found out today. Code inspection will be done by Tuesday, which should be fine. No issues with that. So we should be able to get in there some point Tuesday, which is what is today? Thursday? Less than a week. Wow. Yeah, super close. Yep. A few final additional little building things we got to do in it, but I'll start doing some content out of the new place here like very fucking soon. So we're pumped about that. Jack, you got to get your ass back here and help us with that as soon as possible. Yeah, we got to get you some funding for that or something. But students, Danny, you got a couple your Penn State students come back end of this month.
August 21st is the official move-in date.
21st. Penn State plays on the 28th or something too. We should get out for that.
Yeah, against West Virginia.
Oh, fucking. All right, so all I'm getting at is the next week is going to be kind of question mark. Not sure if we're going to have a show or not, but that is purely because we will have the studio ready to move into early next week and then probably just start doing that rather than worry too much about making shows so that we can start doing shows out of the damn studio we just fucking built. So that is what's going on with that. Less than a week to go. This was an awesome conversation. I hope you guys will keep doing cider houses or spin something else off into your own things. We're very excited to see what's going to happen with all of that. Final thoughts. I want to say on the air that I think you guys all handled the chat excellently today. And I'll also say to you, chat, that you handled these guys somewhat okay. You can do better, chat.
Is that all they got?
You listen to this shit, fucking madman, to the internet, no less.
I didn't even blink twice.
I think a lot of you guys like the thinking these guys are doing, despite some of the things you say. And I've known a lot of you a lot longer than these guys do. So I appreciate your help. This has been awesome. I'm just rambling. No show probably next week. We'll see. But then after that is when the real entire 10-year-long John Ward YouTube mission finally gets to start doing the cool shit we've always wanted to do. You guys don't have little sign-off lines yet, do you? With your little brands.
Break one, I may be stupid, I ain't dumb, crazy. One shame, I got it easy on down
fucking
there.
Guy.
And some of you chat people thought he wasn't American.
Jack, are you going to beep and boop one time for us?
Especially.
Yes,
what's
sir,
that?
you are.
Yes, I am.
Dude, Jack, you got to come up with a like a sign off, like a line, like a stupid fucking.
I know what you want me. I know what you want me to say. And
Oh, you just weren't doing.
jacking off. I'm not going to say that.
I didn't. That's not from me at all. That's great. Look at these fucking guys. Look what you just did to them. This is Jack jacking off, and I am John Ward, and that is it for today. Till next time, remember, you're a world champion. Don't let Jack jack you off, and don't let your memes be fucking dreams, you madman Jack. And send Therese some money and play some Killer Whale. Board. Come on, Board. Come on, Board. Greatest show ending ever. We're done with this studio. Fuck it. Fuck it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Write it down, and we'll do it live.